Hello, everybody. So Xilonen is rerunning really soon, and I'm guessing a lot of people are going to be trying to go for her. So this is going to be a simple guide that hopefully that casual players or even new players can understand this information in the short amount of time that I provide it. So I don't want to have a very long, stretched out guide that has too much information. Just simply put, I want you to understand it now. So let's get to it. So starting off with her abilities, it's very simple. Normal attacks are, well, normal attacks. Nothing too important here, because we're going to be focusing on her supportive build. So there's that. And then her burst, I'll do burst first. All it does, you do this, then it heals the active character. So it's pretty good healing for really what you get. And then her most important ability is her skill. So like, I'll just have an element here. What her skill does is that you go on rollerblades, and in order to get her buff, you have to fill the bar. All you have to do is auto attack twice. That's literally it. And then your offer skill. In case you don't count your auto attacks, in order to know is that, well, you're not in your rollerblades anymore. So then you could swap off of her. That's literally all you have to do. You could see the thing around my feet is indicating that I have the buff there. And now it's gone, so it can last a while. So, oops. But yeah, that's literally all you have to do to understand that part of the kit. So let's explain what you have to do to achieve it, in case you may not understand like why it's doing that. In order to get that buff, you have to have at least 2 elements that can be crystallized. So hydro, cryo, electro, and pyro. You can have 2 of the same elements as well. Doesn't matter if you have any order. So I can have like Shangling here as another pyro character. Doesn't matter. But in order to get the buff, you got to make sure you have at least those 2. Like say if I were to have an Animo character or a Geo character. So now I have 3 of these elements that cannot be crystallized or cannot be synergized directly with Xilonen. Then you'll lose your buff. So I will show how that works now. Now that I have too many elements that are not crystallizable, and if I were to do this, I get nothing. Like the bar isn't going up. I'm not getting any sort of buff. So this is bad news. So this is only good news if you want her to be a DPS or if you have her C2. But I'm assuming everyone has their C0, but I will briefly mention Constellations later in the video. So there's that. So hopefully that gets you to understand the basic things of her kit. So let's just get straight to artifacts now. So all you really need is the scroll set. In case you may not know, I'll just point it out on the map. It's just right here. It's the first artifact domain that unlocks with the nation. All you really need on her is energy recharge and defense percentage on the substats. Main stats, this can be ER or defense percentage depending on what you need. I'd say her burst is pretty valuable to heal all the time. So, but if you don't care, if your team has like a Bennett who heals everyone anyways, you can go to full defense or whatever you really want. Mainly defense or ER on this one. Defense percentage no matter what. And there are 3 options here. Personally, I think she heals enough, so she doesn't need healing bonus. So I do defense percentage. But honestly, crit rate is also really good for the weapon options I'm going to show in a second. So, weapons. I will narrow it down to 2 options. Either her signature weapon or Favonius. So if you have Favonius and you don't want to roll for her weapon, I'd say this is your best bet. Energy for the team is great, and energy for herself is also great. Because she doesn't need that much defense, because she honestly heals a lot on her own. And even with without healing bonus, it's still a good amount. If you feel like you're not healing enough, you can, I guess, switch to the defense buildable weapon, not this one. The one that's buildable in the nation. I don't know what it's called, but realistically, I'd say this is the only weapon that matters to her. You can also put like a Freedom Sword if you really want to, but I'm guessing people don't have 5-star weapons. Casual players don't care about the weapon banner, which is a good choice. As for stats, I'd say personally, I went maybe around 200% energy recharge. That may be overkill on a lot of teams. So work what you got, maybe like 180. That could be good too. And defense, maybe get around 2,500 to 3,000. I'm guessing that's what you'll get without, like say if I were to swap off of this. How much do I get? 20. Like maybe go 2,500. With Favonius, you just need to get a bit of crit rate. So that would mean you get a crit rate circlet. So if I were to swap to one, then her defense drops down to this much. So maybe you would actually get a bit more. My 270% ER is way too much, so then you'd adjust it to defense percentage here. Because you don't need that much. I don't seem to have defense as well. Okay, here we are. So it's around, let's say 2,500 is the sweet spot for Xilonen. I don't think it's a huge deal without her signature weapon because I think she functions just fine without having that much. So, anyways, her talents now, all that matters is her skill for the most part, because that's where you get your elemental res decrease to make yourself do more damage. What this does is that the enemies take more damage, simply put. Same thing with this. If you don't know what the set does, if you just apply an element on an enemy and crystallize it, in Xilonen's case, you get yourself a damage buff, which means more damage. I'll make it simple. So you do more damage with the artifact set, and you do more damage with her talent. You can level up her burst as well. Like maybe you can go around 6 to 8. I don't think you need it. You don't need to crown it unless you love her, but she heals a lot. And normal attacks are pretty irrelevant. You can keep it at level 1 unless you want her to be a main DPS. So otherwise, if you want her to be a support, like most players, you can ignore this. And I'm just going to show a few teams that I personally like to use with Xilonen. But for the most part, you use what you want with what you have, because not everyone has every character in the game. So I'm not going to say use this team that has Farina, Yelan, and Hu Tao. I will show it, but if you don't have the characters, just try to work with what you have and that the characters that you enjoy the most so that you enjoy the game. Don't try to go for meta, go for fun and what makes you happy. I'll just show off the few teams I like a lot. Okay, so that was just a few teams that I personally like to use a lot. So if you don't have any of these characters or don't have all of them, that's okay. Work around your favorite characters and see if they work, as long as they're like an element of anything that can be crystallized. Xilonen can most likely buff them. So there's that. I guess I'll explain the constellations as well. In case you want to go for constellations, just don't spend money, okay? But let's work with all of them. C1 is pretty pointless unless you're going for C2. It's like just a bridge for the second constellation. Because if you want to get it exclusively for C1, you're not going to get much value. So keep that in mind. C2 is great in case you want to increase more your damage or decrease, like have some cool synergies with electro elements. But if your teams are doing really good damage with Xilonen, this is just a cherry on top that you may not need or care about. So there's that. Along with C3, that just means a little bit more damage on her skill buffing. So if you don't care, she does enough supporting for your team. It's just a bigger damage number for your team. So if you like that, her constellation is good. C4, I honestly don't even know what it does. If it doesn't really matter. And C6 just makes her deal more damage. So if you like that, then cool. But for supportive stuff, C3 is the max, but C0 is already amazing. You decide on that. If you want to save a lot of Primo Gems and potentially money of your wallet, C0 is good enough. So C0 with a Favonius sword is perfect. Like if I didn't have her signature, I would use Favonius. So I think that's it. That's literally just a little Xilonen video. I don't know how long it is. Hopefully it's very short, but that's I hope you know how to play Xilonen. If I missed anything important, or if I was too brief on something, let me know. And yeah, there we go. I hope you all get Xilonen for those who are saving, and if you knew nothing about her, I hope you understand her pretty clearly now. And yeah. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.